Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. Boy, I gotta tell you talk about creating the adventure of your lifetime. Our guest today is an author. She's a marathoner. She's a mommy to 3 vivacious children that are all boys. And I feel sorry for her at the time when they're the ages they are, because I remember that I had 2 of my own, and that was tough. In any event, her name is Liz Bursten, and she has written a book, and this is an autobiography of what she went through in her life. And rather than me tell the story, and by the way, the name of the book, if you want to follow along, go to lizbursten.com, BURSTEN.com, and you can look at the book, and you can get some downloads from the things and stuff and all the techie folks that you guys do. And the name of the book, Perspective is Power. And I firmly believe that you are exactly correct, and I'm so glad you're here. Liz, how are you today?
Hi, Kevin. Happy Friday. I'm doing very good. And how are you?
I'm awesome, thank you. I get to talk to some of the most remarkable human beings on the planet, and you fall into that category of a remarkable human being that's done some really good things, but there was a point in time when you needed medical attention. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, sure. And thank you. Thanks so much, Kevin, for having me. My story kind of chronicles what started with a near-death experience in a car accident I had when I was 16 years old. So I kind of chronicle the whole journey of that and what that was like, going through essentially being taken by flight for life, closing my eyes one night and thinking that was my last sight, thinking that I wasn't going to wake up the next morning, and essentially overcoming all of that. And walking away from everything, no pun intended, with just an injury in my leg. But little did I know that long-lasting injury would lead to some of my greatest challenges, some of my greatest adventures, and kind of overcoming and constantly reflecting and being able to kind of channel that inner warrior that I had to be when I was fighting against those physical challenges.
When you were 16, which I can only imagine, must have been a horrific moment for you, but you describe having a near-death experience. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. So this happened, it was probably 5 or 6 days after my accident. So I was not initially fighting for survival to begin with. My medical team was incredible, and they kept things under control, all of my critical injuries. But suddenly things started to downward spiral. I wasn't getting better. I was getting worse. I was getting sick. I was on drips and tubes and all types of support. And suddenly, every tube coming out of my body, including, my nose and my veins and everything, was just filling with blood. So I was beginning to bleed internally, is what they believed. And I remember that night pulling, tubes out of my nose and being scared, right? What was happening. And then I remember closing my eyes, and I remember my eyes felt very heavy. And I remember seeing the nurse right by my bedside, and it was chaotic. And I closed my eyes, and suddenly it all went away, and I didn't feel the pain anymore. I felt peaceful. I felt happy. I felt warm. I felt like I was in the sunshine, even though it was very dark. It was nighttime. And I just had this feeling. It's not necessarily something I saw. It's just this feeling where all of that physical pain and everything went away. And then just in an instant, I was ripped right back into it and felt excruciating pain and felt the chaos and heard the loud noises. And I was back. So that's kind of how I would describe that experience.
And by the way, before we go any further, there's this guy that you may know. His name is Spencer, and which is one of my favorite names, because Spencer Haywood I was enamored with a basketball player when I was growing up. But Spencer says Go, Liz. I think you know him
I
from,
do know him. Yes. My
and
very favorite person in the world, my
look
husband.
at that smile on your face. I can tell he's your very favorite person, and that is just so cool. But
Yeah.
you know, and the thing about your near death experience was that it gave you a glimpse of what it's like when we get to say goodbye to here,
Yeah.
and we get to go someplace that is peaceful, and it
Mhm.
is warm, and it is inviting and
Yep.
stuff. And but I'm glad you came back. You had too much to do.
Yes.
And so your recovery took a long time. Talk about that. Can you hear me?
Sorry, it broke up.
Oh, your
I'm with
recovery your recovery took a long time. Talk about your recovery and what it ultimately meant.
Yes, sure. So initially, acute recovery from the accident, right? I was ridden with back injuries, neck injuries. The liver injury is the one that nearly killed me. So all of those injuries did resolve themselves over the course of maybe 6 months or so. But as I mentioned, the leg was the lingering issue, and I remember finding peace in that after everything I faced, thinking it's just a leg. We'll put it in a cast, it'll get better. But oh my goodness, was it a journey? I think I've had to this point 12 surgeries, 10 surgeries before I had the amputation. A lot of not walking in between there. Pain medication, I was very careful to not take too much, right? Because you can have issues with that. So that was very challenging, to have to cut that off every time and then get surgery again and kind of go through that vicious cycle, using scooters and wheelchairs. And when I was walking in between all of my stints of rehab, on my leg, I would walk almost like bow-legged and sideways most of the time, and incredible pain. It was very hard to be 16, 17, 18 years old and go off to college that way, and kind of juggle that. But that's what I fought with for 9 years. But my perspective all through the while was it was just a leg, right? I'm alive. I've had far worse. But one thing led to the next, and it was really influencing my quality of life. And being in pain was really hard on me mentally and emotionally as well. So it certainly was a journey, and much more than I bargained for. When I got through the accident, I thought it was all going to fold up in a box and be behind me one day, but it definitely was not.
It has to be one of the hardest decisions that you would ever make. If even if it wasn't well and you'd had a bunch of surgeries and it wasn't getting better, to end up deciding to basically end the chaos and have your leg amputated. Is that kind of was that your mindset at the time that you did that?
Yes, absolutely. And what I share in the book is kind of how I came to that decision. And I remember when I was writing the book, my editor asked me, tell us where this came from. It seems random, because what happened was I was in a consultation with my orthopedic surgeon at the time, and I proposed to him that we amputate my leg, and he laughed at me. He dismissed it. He said he had a 10-year plan for me, so 10 more years of surgeries, and then it would end in amputation. And that was the nail in the coffin right there for me. I knew amputation was what I needed, but I was the one to think of the idea. I felt crazy speaking it out loud to my family members, to Spencer, and then to go to my doctor and for to have him laugh at me, and kind of tell me no, but 10 more years and then we'll give you the amputation. It was really challenging. So I did get the validation I needed pretty quickly after that surgery, or after that appointment. Actually, the medical assistant of that doctor, the medical assistant pointed me in the direction of a rehab doctor. And this rehab doctor is the one who prescribes my prosthetics today. And that rehab doctor willingly met with me, talked to me about what amputation would do compared to the limb salvage, we called it. And my decision was made right there. And I just began pursuing and putting all the pieces in place. But let me tell you, it was not easy. Even after I made that decision, I constantly was kind of the anticipation working up in my head. How hard is it going to be? Am I going to feel confident? Am I going to feel beautiful? Am I, all of these things? What if it doesn't work out? So, but that was far worse than anything that happened afterwards. It was that anticipation.
I can only imagine after going through what you had gone through for 9 years and then looking forward to an additional 10 years. That's 19 years of having pain. And then at the end of the day, it might well result in what you chose to do at the early part. So that makes perfect sense to me because you wanted to have quality of life too.
Absolutely. And, it was easy enough to go through when I was young, right? I was in school. My teachers were very forgiving. When I got to college, my professors were very accommodating. My parents, my family was always there. But when you think about being a young adult, you want to go to college, you want to get a job, you want to be independent. I was relying on other people to help me or to bend the rules a little bit. And the closer I got to kind of that reality of adulthood, I'm like, this isn't going to work long term. I'm always going to be needing to ask for favors. I'm going to need someone to take care of me. And that's where it really began to become more and more eye opening the closer I got to that piece of my life.
One of the things that caught my eye, and I just want to highlight it if we can, is that you came home from the hospital. How long were you in the hospital? 6 months?
From the accident,
Yeah.
only 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When you came home and you had a bunch of siblings,
Yes.
and one of your siblings, it happened to be his birthday, and what did he tell you?
Yes. My little brother Jay, he's let's see, was he 9 years old at the time? He told me it was the best birthday present ever having me home. So him and my sister and my other brother were just in grade school when I was going through this. And when I was gone, my mom was always by my side. So that day when I was home and we sat down and we had birthday cake and open presents, and little tiny Jay said the best present was having me home. And it just melted my heart to hear that from a little person, right?
That makes me want to cry because
Yeah.
we all wish we had families like that, but some of us don't. And congratulations on
Yeah.
and to your parents for how many kids did they have?
5. So I have an older brother, Joe, and then myself, and then my 3 younger siblings, Christopher, we call him Fur, Jeremiah, we call him Jay, and Kara. So they are 6, 9, and 11 years younger than me. So my brother and I, it's like we grew up a certain way, right? We were a year apart. And then the next 3, they're the little ones. We always call them the little ones. And I had the pleasure of kind of having that experience as a big sister, right? And kind of, being able to take care of them and babysit them. And truly, I will say, when I was fighting for my life, I remember after that near-death experience, so many thoughts about the 4 of them popped in my head, and thinking, what would life be like for Joey, my older brother, if he lost me? What would life be like for my only sister, who I hoped and prayed for so many years? What would life be like for my brothers? So truly, like, little did they know, all 4 of them were my biggest motivation at many times. Helped me push. And like, even if not for myself to live with all of this pain and this trouble, I couldn't let them down. And I did not want to miss out on one piece of their lives. And you're right. It is special to have a wonderful family. So I'm very thankful for that, and don't think I'd be here if it weren't for them.
Well, and the family support is so important in the healing process and to getting you back on your feet. And by the way, you're being listened to in Kenya. And his family, we're one of his favorite shows. And thank you, Samuel. And we really appreciate you and your family listening to us all the time. It's really great. And Liz, your story is such that you ended up having the amputation, and then there was a whole process around that of learning how to deal with the prosthetics and all of those issues. When did you decide that you were going to start running?
Yes, actually, the running kind of started almost right away after the amputation. I was amazed. It was 10 months after the amputation, I was fitted for my first running leg. It's called a running blade. And I competed in the competitive track and field events. Actually, 1 year post amputation, I ran and I medaled in my first 100-meter race. So that's a sprint. So I did some sprints, 100 and 200-meter, and really had high hopes to go for the Paralympics. So was kind of on that track for a while. And then it wasn't until several years later, I kind of paused my running endeavors when I was in the pursuit of becoming a mom and everything that takes. And then when I came back to running after having children, I fell in love with distance running. It was just nice to just take time to slow down, to have some time of thought, some time of reflection. And when I fell in love with that, it was like go big or go home. I had my sights set on doing a marathon because I knew that would just be a transformational experience, and it certainly was.
Well, it certainly would transform me from a live person to a dead person, but that's beside the point. Congratulations on that. That whole process that you went through. I know in your book, you consider it everything that's happened to you a blessing. And
Yes.
and that is, and when we come back from this break, we're going to talk about the book and Power is Perspective. I believe that's the name of the thing. Yeah, no, perspective is power. I got that wrong. And perspective is power because the way it works is the perspective that you bring to something oftentimes gives you the outcome either that you're looking for or the one that you aren't looking for but get anyhow. So we need to take this quick break. It's only 45 seconds. We'll be right back with Liz Bursten, and stay with us, everybody. She's phenomenal.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back, everybody, to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and we've got a great guest for you today. And I believe now we just played a commercial for Ophir Adar, and I got to tell you, you have lived your life feeding your white wolf. Do you know what that means?
I thought of it when I saw that in the commercial. Are you referring to the wolf story that I wrote about in my book?
Not necessarily. Well, tell us about that story.
Okay, sure. So one of my favorite parts of the story of my book is not a story that's my own, but I'm paraphrasing here. It's an old Cherokee tale where this grandfather.
Yes, this is that one. Go ahead.
This is the white wolf. Okay, good. I was hoping it was the same thing. So that's too funny that was just in the commercial. So anyways, I came upon this story. Let me share the background. My family and I were on vacation a couple years ago, and there was this beautiful mural on the wall in the kitchen in the house we were staying at. And I just fell in love with this. Now we ordered one and have one on the wall in our house as well. And of course I put it in my book. So the tale goes like this. So an old Cherokee man is sitting down with his grandson, and he tells him, there is a fight going on inside of me. It's a fight between two wolves, and there are two wolves. So one is evil, which is probably the dark wolf. He's full of anger and regret, and self-pity and sorrow. And then the other is the good wolf. So maybe it's the white wolf that's referred to in that commercial. And that is one that is filled with hope and optimism and faith and joy and contentment and peace. And the grandfather says to his grandson, so this same fight is going on in the hearts of every single human. So the grandson sits and ponders this very deep thought for a moment. And then he asks, which wolf wins? And the grandfather says, whichever one you feed. So love it. Love that message.
And that is, and it's so true. We get to choose every day how we are going to live our lives. And if we decide that we are going to live our lives with passion and with conviction, with gusto and joy and kindness and taking care of each other, the outcome is completely different than if you feed the dark one and you live and you wake up every day and it's what's going to go wrong today and how it's going to be. That is a hell of a way to live, in my opinion, and that's no fun. So he has Feed the White Wolf, and you have it in your book. How cool is that?
Yes, meant to be.
Exactly. Well, I brings up an interesting point in your world. How much of your life has been coincidence, in some cases, a bad coincidence, and how much of it do you think was predestined and designed for your betterment and for you to grow and the experiences that you needed to become the woman you are today?
Yes, that's a very good question. And I firmly believe that every single thing happens for a reason. And one of my favorite quotes or favorite principles, it's the 90-10 rule. So life is 10% what happens to us, those circumstances, and 90% our attitudes, our responses, our thoughts, our behaviors. So truly, anything could happen. It could be really good, it could be really bad, but it's all in how do we think about it? How do we let that rest in our minds? And then how do we output and how do we act upon that in our lives? And I felt both ends of that spectrum, right? Don't get me wrong. I've had my moments in my journey where I was more on the other side of the spectrum where I wasn't relinquishing that positivity. I wasn't feeding that good wolf. But when you do commit to that principle, it's like circumstances become minuscule and it doesn't matter what happens and nothing is going to change that as long as you're resolute in your mindset and your strength and your positive attitude.
And dare I say, your perspective,
Yes, exactly.
because your perspective really is everything. And there are
Yeah.
tons of stories throughout history that prove that. And there was a runner. Do you remember the name Roger Bannister?
Not ringing a bell.
Roger Bannister was a miler when they used to do the miler. Now they do what is it, a 5,000 meter or whatever it is, or whatever.
Okay.
But he was a miler, and this is before anybody had broken the 4 minute mile. And doctors were saying it's not possible. The human body can't go that fast. And so nobody believed that the 4 minute mile was possible, except for Roger Bannister. And so he worked at it, and then in a competition, he ran the first sub 4 minute mile, proving that his perspective was positive and he could do it. And you know what happened right after that? Right after that, 3 or 4 other milers ran sub 4 minute miles because now they knew it was possible. And
Wow.
that's kind of how our lives work, don't you think? We don't know if it's possible until it's done, or until we decide that and we choose that we're going to do it. And that's what you did. Congratulations on everything that you've done.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks for sharing that story. I love to hear that. And I firmly believe that, if you say you can or you say you can't, you're right.
Exactly. And for all of us, your story is a great thing, because when you were 16 years old and I saw pictures, because you've posted the pictures of you in the hospital room, and bless your mother for you weren't able to go to the prom, but she made sure that your dress was there, and she did something with it, and to make you feel so special and stuff. So all of those things combined to give you the courage and the strength to become who you are today. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And it's all of those moments. And that's a good example where just the belief and the ordinary moments, right, that were made extraordinary. So my husband told me when we were dating, when we were in college, he said, actually, he played soccer in college and wrote on the back of his soccer picture he gave me, he says, there's no such thing as an ordinary moment. Every moment's extraordinary. And he would say that all the time. And I'm like, oh gosh, like this guy. And he really does act like that all the time, where it's like, it doesn't matter, a common experience. It's bubbly, it's fun. But oh my gosh, like we collectively as a family, we live our life that way. And I've adopted this practice of looking at my days like that, the little things, and getting excited about the little things. And something, well, I suppose when you're in high school, like a homecoming or a prom dance, it's not a little thing, but looking back on it and just thinking, my mom had this extra special, beautiful blanket that day for me to kind of be like my homecoming dress. And that was just a very small thing that made such a big deal. And even looking back on that day and seeing the faces of all those that were there to kind of celebrate that, it is extraordinary.
I just have to say, Liz, that what happens in my world, like on a day like today, I'm doing 3 different podcasts or radio shows, and because I do so many, but a lot of times a common theme will develop throughout the day, and the common theme that's developed through today, because the last person that I talked to was in a mental institution for a period of time, and had attempted suicide, and so that could, while that can be really dark, she also now lives a life of light, and as an artist and as an author, just like you, because you chose to not let this get you down when you were 16 and you had the neck brace and you were but you were surrounded by people who loved you and took care of you, and
Yes.
and meant something to you. And by the way, I got to meet Spencer. He sounds like a hell of a guy.
Yes, he sure is. Yeah, and to share a little bit about that though, so um, I certainly would not have gotten through if I wasn't surrounded by everybody and didn't have, like I mentioned, even the motivation just to be there for those people in my life. But my heart goes out to people who don't have the support system, right? Because not everybody does. But
Right.
that is where, if we are armed with this mental power, with this perspective, it doesn't matter. And then you're not, to me, my family, my support system has been so important. But I think about those, gosh, how do people that don't have that, how do they get through it? And that's where I kind of reflect on myself. Who am I to feel sorry for myself? Because there are people that have worse problems than me and don't even have the support that I have. So I constantly was like playing devil's advocate with myself. Like, come on, Liz, like you got to get through this. It's not that bad. But I did have my moments of self-pity. Actually, probably the 4 years following the accident was a roller coaster, and being a young, I guess a teenager turning into a young adult, that's a roller coaster type season of your life anyways, for anybody. But it was very challenging. And I did, you mentioned this previous person you spoke with. So I had a suicide attempt when I was 19 years old. And I never would have believed that, after feeling so grateful for my life, after my life being spared after the accident, I never would have imagined, like, how did I feel that low that I was willing to do that to myself? And again, it comes down to that perspective. Was feeling sorry for myself, wasn't focusing on all the good that I had. But boy, was that an eye-opening moment for me when I woke up from that experience. And every moment from then, it just kind of stacked and built and grew. But again, thankful for every moment, and no regrets truly, because every single challenge and every mistake had its fair share of lessons, which I'm thankful for.
And Spencer may know this guy. His name was Frosty Westerling. He was the head football coach at PLU for years and years, and was a national championship. And he wrote a book. It was called "Make It a Great Day." His philosophy when he went on the field with his players all the time was, you have a choice. Make it a great day because you can.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of become the theme of the day of the show and stuff,
Yes.
which is really, really cool, because we all face challenges. I had my own bad country music song, period, is what I like to call it. But it went away, and I was able to rise above it and realize that those things don't define us. It's a matter of our perspective. Oh, there's that word again. A matter of our perspective as to how we view things and what we do. And I know that you put that, you write about that in your book, yes?
Yes.
That is. So tell us more about the process. What made you sit down? Because you're a marathoner, so you run a lot, and you're a physically active person, and you got 3 boys. What made you
Yeah.
sit down and write a book?
Yeah. It was after the year of running the marathon where I thought, okay, I made time for training for a marathon. So I could not run a marathon this year. I could use my time to write a book instead. But oh my goodness, it was a different experience. So, I would do a lot of my training at nighttime. We would put the kids to bed, and I'd go down on my treadmill for 2 hours, 3 hours at a time. So I thought, okay, I'll do that with writing. We'll put the kids to bed. I'll go sit at my desk and I'll write. very different than hopping on a treadmill, because a treadmill, I could think about my day, I could think about things, I could watch a show, I could listen to music. When I had to write, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've worked all day, took care of the kids all night, and now I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? But I will say, it comes back to Spencer again. So he really ignited the fire behind this whole thing. So when I got really serious about wanting to write the book was after some interviews happened in the news following the marathon. So that Christmas, he gifted me a package with a publishing company. So there was no going back on that. So I was super thankful for that. But it started, I remember my first phone call was January 6th with selfpublishing.com. They laid out the plan. And things just went one after the next from there. So, yeah, I still can't believe I did it, but I'm happy I did.
Well, two things. Number one, that's your entire life. I'm glad that there was one thing that you failed at. And other than that, everything else has been a grand design. And by the way, that was too, because it turned everything around for you. And turned it into a positive perspective. And the other thing is, I'd keep Spencer around. He seems like a pretty good dude.
Yeah, he's a keeper. Although I do always joke. So you say, I have 3 boys, right? And it's hard to keep up with. I say I have 4 babies because Spencer's the biggest baby. I've got to take care of him too.
Well, I like to say, women have the ability to make babies, and if we had to do that, there wouldn't be any babies being made, because it's like, no, we can't deal with that level of pain. But you have dealt with pain your entire life, and that is and it's remarkable, the story that you have. And I always know when the show is going really well, because I blow past the breaks that I'm supposed to take because I'm having such a good time talking to you. So I need to do that now, but we're going to come back with Liz Bursten, and the name of her book is Perspective is Power. Take the power and have a better perspective. We'll be sorry, couldn't help myself.
Love it.
We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Liz Bursten, the running champ, the marathon champ. That's what I was trying to say. Sometimes when you get older, the words just don't show up the way they're supposed to. You know what I mean? And she is just remarkable. And I want to number one, thank you for writing the book, Spencer, for helping her, and because that book is going to be so empowering to people, because they're going to get the fact. See, a lot of people tend to think, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people tend to think, well, they got a positive. They say this about me all the time. He's got a positive perspective. Like, nothing's bad ever happened to him. Oh no, he's been, but what they don't understand is, regardless of what your life experience is, you can rise above it, and you can take the perspective that you're going to use it for the power of your life. How about that? I put your title right in that little thing.
I love it. I should be taking notes. You're giving me some slogans here.
And go to lizbursten.com, and you can get the book. It's on Amazon. It's everywhere. When was it released, by the way?
So they call it the stealth launch. The paperback and hard copy launched on June 24th, but the actual launch where the ebook went live was just this past Monday, July 28th. So it's launching.
Congratulations on all of that. And I understand that I don't even know 175 people, but I understand you're going to have a book launch tomorrow and there are going to be 175 people there. Is that right?
Yes, including 45 children. So at least a portion of the guests are little people. I don't know if that makes it more or less chaotic, but
well, it depends on how much alcohol is involved for the older folks, I suppose.
We do have a bartender, so that was number one on the list.
Well, you are not
bartender for the grown-ups, bouncy house for the kids. It'll be great.
That is the perfect compliment from one to the other. That's just great. That's just awesome. And so congratulations on the book launch and everything that you got going right now. It is, I think it's going to be the type of book that people are going to pick up either now or in the future. It's going to be on a coffee table somewhere. It's going to be in a used bookstore. It's going to be in a library or a regular bookstore. And people are going to look at it and they're going to go, I need to get this book because I would love to change my perspective. And if I can have the power of having a great perspective and have it mean something to me, and then when they review your story and the lessons that you've learned from your story and your near-death experiences, it can be a really, really cool read for somebody. Don't you think? I know you do.
Absolutely. Yes, of course. My biased opinion. I think everybody and anybody should read it, whether you're somebody facing adversity or not. I mean, you could even draw some inspiration from it in small ways and, driving change. But something really unique I did with my book is after each chapter, there's like a self-help exercise. So in a lot of cases, it's journaling prompts. And if you do go to my website, lizbursten.com, you can actually download a digital copy for free without even buying the book. So you can get a peek at those exercises. But these are actual things that I have practiced over the years. One of the things was my favorite. It's Dear Future Self. You write a letter to yourself every year. And then you open it a year later and you see like what kind of things you were shooting for. Where was your mind space back then? And you kind of see yourself evolve over the years. So there's all sorts of wonderful exercises in there. And again, it's very unique. I had a recent inquiry to speak at a business to a group of people leaders in a business. And that is a perspective I didn't think was going to come out of this book. It's very personal. It's very self-helpy. It's very personal growth, right? But this particular leader saw it and thought, yeah, I want all of my people leaders to read this. And I want them to draw some of the exercises and help shift their mindset to help them in being better support and better coaches for their teams. So I thought that was really interesting to see that twist of the intake of perspective there.
And by the way, if you are a CEO of a company, that boss, by the way, that wants you to come talk to him is a very smart guy. Because if he can get people to buy in to some of the things that you talk about, then his business will run better. His turnover will go down. His profits and his productivity will go up. And everybody will be, dare I say it, happier.
Yes. Yes.
And that's a really big deal. So you know what? You're now, I failed to mention this. I apologize. So let's start again. We're talking with Liz Bursten. She is an author. She's a marathoner and she's a public speaker.
Yes, that too. Just getting that off the ground, truly. I mean, I suppose that's kind of an avenue I hope to go with the book. I hope to be able to get FaceTime with people and to share my story and to hear theirs, right? Because I will say, when I did sit down to write my book, when I thought about writing it, I was humbled for years and like, who am I to write my story, right? Well, what I'm going through isn't as bad as so-and-so, and what I'm accomplishing isn't as great as so-and-so. But as soon as I put pen to paper and I shared my story and the lessons I've learned, it gave me such a great avenue to just connect with others and to talk about it. And you wouldn't believe just the wonderful stories and the type of outreach I've received just in the short amount of time, and other incredible individuals that I've met that are inspiring me. So it's created such a great like give and receive type energy. And, of course I want people to draw inspiration from the book and like the tools, but I would love for this to inspire people to share their stories. And I'd love to hear it too.
We've all got a story. And sometimes we tend to devalue our story because of the horrific things that perhaps somebody else has gone through. I'm here to tell you that your story is your story. The experiences that you've got were designed by you, for you, before you were even born. If for those of you who buy into that stuff, I do. And because that's what you came here to do.
Mhm.
And you need those experiences, both good and bad, to become who you really are and to continue to move forward. Because the person that Liz is today, that is sitting here talking to us, ain't the same one that's going to be here in 20 years, because she's going to continue to evolve and grow and learn and all of that, just like everybody else. So it's
Yep.
really important. Congratulations on everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
And I'm really looking forward to being there for the bartender tomorrow. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I'll buy
You're
you a drink at the open bar.
perfect, and I'll buy you too because you deserve it. But it's anyway. I'm in Seattle and I don't get out much, but it's great talking to you. And what was the one thing that if you, and there were lots of things, but the one thing that you feel like your book does the better than anything you could ever ask for?
Yeah, I think it's just this common theme and examples and very tangible examples and very different parts of my life over the course of, 17 years. Just really showing how tangible it is if you do embrace a positive attitude, if you do manifest that goodwill, and you look into your future and you see good things and you take one step at a time, and you believe in yourself and you have that unwavering confidence that it doesn't matter what happens, or even if your path sways, it's going to be a beautiful life if you commit to that. Again, the power of perspective to be able to overcome anything. So that's been my favorite and strongest theme in the book. In fact, I should say, I think I had like 3 chapters that were saying perspective is power, because I didn't give the book a title until the end. It was the very last thing I did. So I had like 3 chapters that were saying something about the power of perspective. And my editor was flagging. She's like, maybe you should morph a title out of this. And that's where it came from. But it's catchy. I like alliteration. So
And well, not only is it catchy, it's true.
yes.
And for, if you, all you need to do is look at examples of people that have done great things. There was a high school basketball coach that was at our school, and he always taught his players to say every time they take a shot, to say the word automatic, meaning it's going to go in, it's automatic, and that's just the way it is. Whether it did or not was immaterial, but he put a mindset in them that they could do it, that they could make that shot. And it works in athletics, it works in business, it works in your personal life, and it can lead to, in my humble opinion, just a much better life for you and the people that you are around and that are connected to you. If I could come back, I'd want to be one of your kids, because you and Spencer, I think, are spectacular human beings.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And, just to draw on one more theme from the book, something I think I'm really proud of, and I hope it resonates with them in the book, is kind of this theme that imperfection and things that are uncomfortable, it's a good thing and it's worth celebrating. And if I look back so my accident happened on September 27th, 2007. If I could get in my car that day and drive a different way or pull over on the side of the road so none of this would have happened, I wouldn't dare. I would keep going and I would let everything unfold the way that it did, because who would I be if that didn't happen? And everything that unfolded in such a beautiful way. So I think there's power in that as well. When you go through challenges or you make mistakes, once you get through it, you get on the other side, you try to draw, what's the learning? What did I learn? How is this piece of me harder and stronger now because of that? And I think that's a great thing. And oh gosh, you think about just how many unexpected things happen in our lives, and um, things we don't want to happen. So if you have that thought, like, doesn't matter if this bad thing happens, I'm going to draw something good out of it. I'm going to learn something. It's going to enhance me as a person. Nothing's going to bring you down.
And I work very hard every day to just not even entertain the fact that there are going to be bad things that happen. So if something happens that's not exactly what I chose, well, I let it go because there's a reason for it, and I'm accepting of that. And one of the things that I always say is, okay, what can I learn from this?
Yep.
Whatever it happens to
Exactly.
be. And that's an important aspect. By the way, again, we're talking to Liz Bursten. Go to our website, lizbursten.com, and you need to get the book, Perspective is Power, Overcoming Adversity and Embracing a Life Without Limits. By the way, Liz, I got to ask you before I go to break, isn't a marathon like 26 friggin' miles?
Yes, 26.2.
I'd make it 26. It's a 0.2 I'd have a problem with.
Yeah.
But
That puts you over the edge.
and we need to take this break. And I implore everyone to please listen to this. This is a heartfelt message from Positive Talk. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk. And Liz, you are one of those. You're one of those people that is kind and considerate, and you take care of the people around you, but you also take care of yourself. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. And I love that message.
Well, thank you very much. It is what I believe. And I honestly believe that if everybody were to take that attitude, that we're going to be kind to everybody that we meet, and that we're going to put the best circumstances that we can for every situation, that we could collectively change the world.
Yes, absolutely.
It may sound a little hoity-toity, but I think, but literally, and that's why there's stories like yours and the book that you've written, Perspectives is Power, is so important, because sadly, a lot of people don't get it, and they don't understand that that's even possible for them. And that's how you've lived your life, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And we talked earlier about my support system and what a large role that's played. So I love that video about kindness and kindness to everybody, and no matter the circumstance. And so if we think about that, and that is a perspective of kindness, that's a wonderful thing too. And that's a way that we can support each other and we can lean on each other. And like I said, I hope that my story helps draw the story out of others. Like, I want to hear, what are you going through? What are your challenges? How can we help? Where do we have commonalities? Where can we learn from each other? None of that's possible without kindness. And if we don't have that open door to connect with others. So I absolutely believe in that message.
Thank you. And I do too. And it's an important message but the work that you're doing, I got to ask you, when you were not 19, a little bit older than 19, did you think, looking forward, if you would have written a letter to yourself, addressing yourself 10 years later, do you think that you would be that you would have done what you wrote in that letter, or have you surpassed your expectations?
Honestly, I surpassed my expectations. Interesting though. I was aiming for a little bit of a different life. So I was med school bound. My dream was to be a doctor. I wanted to help people. That was always my mission. Gosh, since I was a little girl. And then when I was a patient, I always thought, oh, I would be so great taking care of patients because I know what it's like to be on the other side. So I worked in a hospital throughout college, and saw behind the curtain, what it means to work in healthcare. And something I didn't think about was the physical demanding nature of such a job. At the time, I still had my leg. I wasn't walking well. That was the biggest aha moment. Like, okay, you can't do that. Can't even walk, straight to the bath to get to the bathroom during lunch break. So my life looked different, and it was challenging to come to grips with this whole career that I envisioned for myself, this whole piece of my identity I was going to walk away from. I didn't know what I was going to do. I picked up another major in college. I applied for 100 different jobs with 100 different backgrounds, not knowing where to go. And of course, I always dreamt of being a mom, right? So I am a mom. So that piece of my dream came true. But when you read the book, you'll learn it was not easy. It took us 3 years before we could have our first son, our little miracle, Gordon Michael. And I was told I wouldn't be able to have children. I wouldn't be able to have children because of the damage that I had after the accident. And then I had 3 beautiful boys. So kind of that roller coaster of changing my career aspirations, and then adjusting to maybe I won't be able to become a mom, and then actually becoming a mom. It just, a lot of things unfolded differently. But I will say I surpassed every and any expectation I'd had. And it's not about the things. It's not even about my job or anything like that. It's the family I have and the love that I have and just the pure joy and happiness that I wake up with every day. That is something when I was 20 years old, I did not think that I would feel as genuinely happy and confident and strong as I feel today.
And congratulations for fighting through it and not giving up. And what do they call that? I think they call it perseverance, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's another P word to go with my title: perspective and perseverance.
exactly. And there's also, I know, performance. And you've done all 3 of those. You've written a book. You've had kids, and sometimes, as I'm learning, having children can be a difficult process for some people, and I'm so sympathetic to that, and it's a journey, but the outcome can be such a reward when you've got 3 little rugrats that when they come and wake you up in the morning, they're just happy to see you, I'll bet.
Yes. And they're my biggest fans. And I'm writing down every now and then the sweet things they say to me, because when they're teenagers, I'm going to remind them, you used to say this. I used to be your favorite person. But I'm still convinced we're one of those anomalies where I'm always going to be their favorite person until they fall in love. So
well, you're one of those great people that give as much as you get, and that's an important thing, and especially in a little boy's life who idolizes his mommy, and by the way, when they do fall in love with somebody, they've got a high expectation to meet. I got to tell you that. So, by the way, and we're going to run out of time. I've had a great time talking to you, Liz. You're phenomenal. You're a great human being, and I want you to
Kevin.
continue.
You are as well. I love your mission. I love what you're doing with your shows and connecting with so many incredible people. And I'm truly thankful that you took the time to have me today.
Oh, no question about it. You are somebody that is, you can help people, and that's what I want everybody to get on the understanding that whether you like this show or don't like this show, if you listen to it, you're going to run across somebody that's going to impact your life because you've been thinking about this all day. When I was doing the show in 2003, we'd be talking about a particular subject, and then the phone line would ring, and somebody would, and the board operator would answer the phone, and they would bring them on, and she said, I've been just tuning the dial I stopped at your station and I heard what you guys were talking about. And I've been thinking about that all day. Now, I didn't do that. The board operator didn't do that. That was a divine power in my humble opinion, the divine power that brought that person to the radio at that time to help her deal with what it was that was on her mind. Call me crazy, but I really think that happens.
I believe in that 100%. Divine intervention. It's all around us.
It's everywhere. It's the music that we listen to. It's the billboards. It's different. It's weird. Don't you think? And I keep saying this, and some people don't get it, but don't you think we're on a magical journey? That this life is just simply can be the most wonderful ride, even though it ain't perfect. And you suffered a great deal of pain over a period of time. Like for 10 years and more, because prosthetics also are not pain-free and stuff. So, but you're one tough cookie. You know that, right?
Yes. Yes, but I agree. It's a great ride. And blessing every day, right? And to find those blessings in those moments of just that divine intervention, that divine power, all these wonderful things. It doesn't happen by mistake. So everything around us, absolutely.
And congratulations on everything that you're doing. I know my wish for you is Perspectives is Power becomes a #1 bestseller, New York Times #1 bestseller.
Thank you so much. That would be
that's
amazing.
I think well, given the fact that you were going to be a doctor and then you did a whole bunch of other stuff and stuff. And that's a beautiful thing. You just don't know where you're going to go. And so keep open to it. Say yes to life. That's a big deal. Never quit and say yes to life. Do you agree?
I agree. Amen to that.
And I want to set myself aside because I only can. And I want you to say anything to our audience that you would like to, what's on your mind, what's on your heart.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kevin. So thank you for those out there listening. I truly appreciate your time and your consideration and just hearing my thoughts and my story. And my hope for you is that you find whatever it is in your journey that will inspire you, and you find that perspective every day to just push through and live an abundant life and enjoy all of the beautiful things, and remember that anything's possible. And even when you're shooting for the stars, you might land somewhere else and it may be even better than you ever imagined. So just embrace the journey, keep a positive mindset, and thank you again for your time.
And thank you, Liz. Again, Liz Bursten has been our guest, and go to her website, which is lizbursten.com, and get the book, Perspective is Power, Overcoming Adversity, Embracing a Life Without Limits. And as a bonus within that book are 10 exercises included to help you live your best life. And I want to thank you so much for being here. I would love to follow your progress as the book gets out there and is generally known and sales start happening and people start emailing you. And I would love for you. Do you have, this may be a question for Spencer, but do you have a second book on the way?
I think I could. There are some holes in my story. Some of my friends read and they're like, why did you write about this? So there are some pieces. My story, the way I wrote it, I wanted it to be very easy to pick up and read, even if you're not a reader, right? And sometimes when people are going through things, there's a couple
there
of my
they
kids.
are. Hey,
There's
guys.
So
hey, guys, how you doing?
Coming soon. Boys, can you say hi? We're on the radio.
You're on. Yeah. Hi. How are you guys?
Well, and this one tells me that all I do is write about myself. So maybe I'll write a book about the kids. Oh, don't touch that, honey.
Yeah. And you got a future broadcaster there.
Yes. There we go.
So
yes.
Guys, thank you. You got a great mom, but you know that already, right?
Say yeah.
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 Perfect. Liz, thank you so much for being here. And they just added dessert and hi. And what's your name?
Jackson.
Say it louder.
Jackson. Hi.
Jackson. Do you know, Jackson, my dad's name was Jack, and they used to call him Jackson as because they liked him, so they would not just say Jack. They would say, "Hey, Jackson, how you doing?"
How you doing? Yes. Can you guys say thank you, Mr. Kevin?
Hi. Hi.
and you get
Ow.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, the one thing
Step in and you can say your name because he can't see you.
I'm Teddy.
This is
You're who?
Teddy.
Teddy. Do you know that there's a president that was named Teddy?
Hi.
Hi. Teddy Roosevelt. Look him up when you get a little older. Anyway,
I learned about it.
you
I
did?
learned about Roosevelt.
Oh, very good. Well, you're pretty smart, huh?
Don't touch that, honey. All right, Kevin. Well, thank you so much for having us. I'm
Thanks.
sorry for the interruption.
Do not be. The one thing I can tell you about Positive Talk is we love cats, we love dogs, we love kids.
Yes, perfect. Well,
So,
thank you very much. We'll keep in touch.
Yes, please. And you have yourself an absolutely outstanding day and have fun tomorrow. Hey, there's Spencer. Hey,
there's
how
the
are
famous
you?
Spencer.
Hey, Kevin.
It's great to meet you, young man. You're a man that I could sit down and have a iced tea with.
I would love that.
And congratulations on everything you do and helping getting the book done. That's a big deal.
Yes.
So
Thank you so much.
Daddy.
thank you guys. My producer's now mad at me because I've gone over time, but that's life. So
Yes.
you guys have a great day.
Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin